The starship descended gently onto the surface of Tylophia 7, a planet known for its shimmering silver skies and sprawling crystalline forests. It was a place of wonder, home to the Pyran species, a race of tall, slender beings with translucent skin that glowed faintly in the dim light. The Pyrans were scholars, thinkers, and dreamers who valued peace above all else. For centuries, they had lived undisturbed, dedicating their lives to knowledge and understanding. But today, their world was about to change. The Intergalactic Academy stood as a symbol of unity among the stars. Built on the outskirts of the Pyran capital city, it welcomed students from across the galaxy. Among the first arrivals were humans, teenagers from Earth's harshest colonies, places so dangerous they earned the nickname Deathworlds. These Deathworlders were survivors, hardened by conditions no other species could endure. They included Jason, a wiry boy with sharp eyes; Emily, quiet but observant; Alex, bold and fearless; and Rachel, thoughtful and quick-witted. As the humans stepped off the shuttle, they immediately drew attention. Their clothing was rugged and practical, patched together from materials scavenged during their travels. Unlike the sleek uniforms worn by most students, the Deathworlders looked like they'd just come from a battlefield. But what truly set them apart were the creatures trailing behind them. Jason led the way, accompanied by Graknar, a massive insectoid creature covered in thick armor plates. Its mandibles clicked softly as it moved, and its 6 legs made soft thuds against the ground. Emily followed close behind, her companion hovering beside her. Lumina, as she called it, resembled a glowing jellyfish, its tendrils drifting lazily in the air. Next came Alex, gripping a leash attached to Fanger, a reptilian beast with jagged teeth and piercing yellow eyes. Finally, Rachel walked calmly, cradling Zix, a small blob-like creature that pulsed faintly with shifting colors. The Pyran instructors watched with growing unease. Irindor, the head professor, exchanged worried glances with his colleagues. He had expected pets, perhaps something small and docile. Instead, these companions looked more like weapons than friends. Still, he reminded himself to remain open-minded. After all, this was meant to be a learning experience for everyone. "Welcome," Irindor said, stepping forward with a warm smile. His voice carried a musical quality, soothing yet firm. "We are honored to have you join us here at the Academy. Please, introduce yourselves and your companions." Jason stepped up first, patting Graknar's armored side. "This is Grax," he said, using the nickname he preferred. "Don't let the size fool you. He's friendly once you get to know him." Graknar let out a low growl, which caused several nearby Pyran students to flinch. Jason chuckled nervously. "See, friendly." Emily went next, gesturing to Lumina. "This is Lumina. She helps me see in the dark back home." As if on cue, Lumina emitted a bright flash of light, momentarily blinding those closest to her. Emily winced. "Sorry about that. She gets excited sometimes." Alex smirked as she tugged on Fanger's leash. "Meet Fanger. He's my protector, and trust me, you don't want to mess with him." Fanger bared his teeth, letting out a guttural snarl. Some of the Pyran students took a step back, clearly unsettled. Finally, Rachel held up Zix. "And this is Zix. He's not much to look at, but he's smarter than he seems." Zix shifted to a deep red, seemingly aware of being introduced. A few curious Pyrans leaned closer, intrigued despite their earlier apprehension. Irindor forced another smile, though his concern was evident. "Fascinating," he said diplomatically. "We look forward to getting to know both you and your companions better." But as the group began making their way toward the Academy buildings, whispers spread among the Pyran students. What kind of people brought such dangerous creatures to school? And why did the humans treat them like family? Little did anyone know, these questions would soon lead to unexpected challenges and surprising answers. The first day of classes at the Intergalactic Academy started with a mix of excitement and tension. The Pyran instructors had prepared an orientation session to help the students get to know one another. It was meant to be a time for cultural exchange, where everyone could share stories about their homelands and traditions. But as soon as the human students walked into the room with their companions, the atmosphere shifted. Jason led the way, Grakner clicking his mandibles loudly as he followed behind. Emily's lumina floated gently above her shoulder, casting soft glows that occasionally brightened without warning. Alex kept a firm grip on Fanger's leash, the reptilian beast snarling softly under its breath. Rachel carried Zix in her arms, the small blob pulsing faintly with colors that seemed to reflect her calm demeanor. The Pyran students stared, some fascinated but most visibly uncomfortable. "Let's begin," Irindor said, trying to keep his tone cheerful despite the unease in the room. "Each of you will introduce yourselves and tell us something unique about your culture." He gestured toward the humans, signaling them to go first. Jason stepped forward, grinning confidently. "I'm Jason," he said, pointing to himself. "And this is Grax, my best buddy. Back home, we call him my battle companion. He's saved my life more times than I can count." Grakner let out a low growl, which made several Pyran students jump. Jason laughed. "Don't worry, he's just saying hello." Next, Emily spoke softly, holding up her hand to guide Lumina closer. "I'm Emily, and this is Lumina. She helps me navigate through dark caves and tunnels. We work together all the time." To demonstrate, she whispered a command, and Lumina emitted a blinding flash of light. A few Pyrans shielded their eyes, murmuring in discomfort. Emily quickly apologized. "Sorry, she doesn't mean to scare anyone." Alex smirked as she pulled Fanger closer. "I'm Alex, and this big guy here is Fanger. He's not just a pet. He's part of my family. Without him, I wouldn't have survived half the things I've been through." Fanger growled again, louder this time, and bared his teeth. One of the Pyran students gasped, clutching their translucent hands to their chest. Alex rolled her eyes. "Relax, he's just showing off." Finally, Rachel stepped forward, cradling Zix carefully. "I'm Rachel, and this is Zix. He might look weird, but he's incredibly smart. He even understands basic commands." Zix shifted to a bright green, almost glowing against Rachel's arms. Some of the Pyran students leaned in curiously, intrigued by the strange creature. When it was the Pyran's turn to introduce themselves, they spoke of their peaceful society, their love for art and music, and their deep connection to nature. They showed holographic displays of their cities, filled with shimmering towers and gardens. The contrast between their world and the harsh realities described by the humans couldn't have been clearer. As the session continued, the differences became harder to ignore. When one of the Pyran students asked why the humans brought such dangerous creatures to school, Jason shrugged. "They're not dangerous if you know how to handle them," he said casually. "Besides, they're our partners. We'd never leave them behind." Emily nodded in agreement. "Where we come from, survival depends on having someone, or something, you can trust. Our companions are more than just animals. They're family." But the Pyrans weren't convinced. Irindor cleared his throat, addressing the group. "While we appreciate your explanations, we must stress the importance of safety here. This is a place of learning, not combat. Your companions, well, they seem better suited for battlefields." The humans exchanged looks, unsure how to respond. They hadn't expected their new classmates to understand so quickly, or judge so harshly. Still, none of them backed down. These companions were part of who they were, and giving them up wasn't an option. By the end of the session, the divide between the two groups felt wider than ever. The Pyrans saw danger where the humans saw loyalty. And while no one said it outright, both sides knew this was only the beginning of what promised to be a challenging semester. Tensions grew thicker as the days passed at the Intergalactic Academy. The humans and their companions continued to stand out, drawing stares and whispers from the Pyran students. While the humans acted like nothing was wrong, the Pyrans found it harder to ignore the constant reminders of how different and dangerous their new classmates seemed. One afternoon, during a lecture on universal diplomacy, things came to a head. Irinder stood at the front of the classroom, explaining the importance of peaceful communication between species. His voice carried its usual calm tone, but his glowing skin flickered faintly, a sign that he was feeling uneasy. Behind him, a holographic display showed images of successful treaties and alliances across the galaxy. In the middle of the lesson, Fanger let out a sudden, deep growl. Alex had allowed him to lie near her feet, and though she thought he was calm, something about the room must have bothered him. The sound echoed through the quiet space, startling everyone. Several Pyran students jumped in their seats, while others froze, wide-eyed with fear. Even Irinder paused mid-sentence, glancing nervously at the massive reptilian beast. "Alex," Jason whispered sharply, nudging her leg under the table. "Control your guy." Alex quickly leaned down, patting Fanger's scaly neck. "It's okay, big guy. Calm down." She shot an apologetic look at Irinder. "Sorry, Professor. He's just, being protective." Irinder forced a smile, though his skin still shimmered with unease. "Perhaps we should continue this discussion another time," he said diplomatically, dismissing the class early. As the students filed out, many of the Pyrans avoided looking directly at the humans or their companions. Later that day, another incident occurred during a group activity in the courtyard. Emily was showing off Lumina's abilities to a small cluster of curious Pyran students. "Watch this," she said proudly, giving Lumina a gentle command. The floating jellyfish-like creature responded by emitting a brilliant flash of light. But instead of dazzling the crowd, the brightness overwhelmed them. Several Pyrans stumbled backward, shielding their sensitive eyes, and one even fell to the ground in distress. "I didn't mean for it to be so bright," Emily exclaimed, rushing to help the fallen student. "Are you okay?" "I'm really sorry." The affected Pyrans eventually recovered, but the damage was done. Word spread quickly among the other students, and soon the humans became the topic of hushed conversations in the hallways. Some Pyrans began avoiding them altogether, steering clear whenever they saw Graknar lumbering behind Jason or Fanger prowling near Alex. That evening, Irinder called the human students to his office. The room was dimly lit, with soft blue lights reflecting off the crystalline walls. He sat behind his desk, his expression serious but not unkind. "I need to speak with you all," he began, folding his hands together. "These incidents cannot continue. Your companions are causing fear and disruption among the other students." Jason frowned, leaning forward slightly. "We're not doing anything wrong. Our companions are part of who we are. Back home, they're essential for survival." "I understand that," Irinder replied gently. "But this is not your home. This is a place of learning, where every student deserves to feel safe. Surely you can see why others might find your companions intimidating." Rachel spoke up, her voice calm but firm. "We've lived with these creatures our whole lives. To us, they're no different than friends or family. We don't see them as threats because we know how to handle them." Irinder sighed, his glowing skin dimming slightly. "And yet, others do not share your confidence. Fear is a powerful emotion, and it spreads quickly. If we cannot find a way to address this, it will only create more division." The humans exchanged uneasy glances. They hadn't expected their presence to cause so much trouble, but they also weren't ready to give up their companions. For now, they agreed to try harder to keep their creatures under control. Still, none of them could shake the feeling that they were being asked to change a fundamental part of themselves, and that wasn't something they took lightly. The tension between the humans and the Pyrans reached a boiling point after a dangerous incident that no one could ignore. It happened during a free period when Alex decided to let Fanger stretch his legs outside the designated areas. The reptilian beast had been restless all morning, pacing back and forth in the small space allotted for companions. Alex figured a little fresh air wouldn't hurt. After all, Fanger was used to wide open spaces on their home colony. As Fanger roamed near the edge of the academy grounds, he stumbled upon a group of young Perrin children playing in a garden. They were laughing softly, their glowing skin casting faint light on the colorful plants around them. At first, Fanger simply sniffed the air, curious about the new scents. But when one of the children accidentally stepped too close, the creature let out a loud warning roar. The sound echoed through the area, sharp and terrifying. The children froze, their laughter turning into screams as they scrambled to get away. Fanger didn't attack. He just stood there, his yellow eyes wide and alert. But the damage was done. Within moments, teachers and staff rushed to the scene, ushering the frightened children to safety. News of the incident spread like wildfire. By the time Alex arrived, breathless and panicked, the courtyard was filled with angry voices. Arinder stood at the center of the chaos, his usually calm demeanor replaced by frustration. "What were you thinking?" he demanded, his glowing skin flickering rapidly. "These are children, innocent students who deserve to feel safe here." Alex held up her hands, trying to explain. "I wasn't trying to scare anyone. Fanger's not aggressive. He was just startled. I swear, I'd never let him hurt someone." But Arinder wasn't convinced. "Startled or not, this is unacceptable. Your companion endangered lives today. How can we trust you to keep the rest of the academy safe?" Jason stepped forward, his voice firm. "You're acting like we brought these creatures here to cause trouble. That's not fair. We've lived with them our whole lives. They're part of who we are. If you can't see that, then maybe this place isn't right for us." The room fell silent for a moment. The Pyrans exchanged uneasy glances, unsure how to respond. Many of them still saw the companions as unpredictable threats, but others began to wonder if they were being too harsh. After all, the humans hadn't meant for any of this to happen. They were just trying to adapt to a new environment. Arinder sighed deeply, rubbing his temples. "This isn't about fairness," he said finally. "It's about safety. We cannot have situations like this happening again. Either you find a way to control your companions completely, or—" He trailed off, unwilling to finish the thought. Rachel spoke up, her tone calm but resolute. "We'll do better. We promise. But you need to understand something. We're not going to abandon our companions. They're more than just animals to us. They're family." For a long moment, no one said anything. The weight of Rachel's words hung in the air, forcing everyone to confront the reality of the situation. The humans weren't going to change who they were, not even for the sake of fitting in. And the Pyrans, despite their fear, couldn't deny the sincerity in the humans' voices. Eventually, Arinder nodded slowly. "Very well. We will give you another chance. But know this, if there is even one more incident, we may have no choice but to reconsider your place here." The humans agreed, though they left the meeting feeling uncertain. They knew they had to prove themselves, to show the Pyrans that their companions could coexist peacefully. But deep down, they wondered if it was possible. Could two such different cultures truly find common ground? Or would their differences always keep them apart? As the day ended, Jason looked at Graknar. Emily stroked Lumina's tendrils. Alex patted Fanger's scaly head, and Rachel cradled Zix in her arms. Each of them felt the same mix of determination and doubt. They were ready to try, but the road ahead wouldn't be easy. The next morning, Rachel approached Jason, Emily, and Alex with an idea. "We need to do something," she said firmly. "If we don't fix this, they'll never trust us, or our companions." Jason raised an eyebrow. "What do you suggest? We can't exactly change who we are." Rachel shook her head. "No, but maybe we can help them understand us better. What if we organize a meeting? A chance for both sides to talk openly about their worlds." Emily looked skeptical. "You think they'll listen? After everything that's happened?" "It's worth a shot," Alex chimed in, surprising everyone. "We've been so focused on defending ourselves that we haven't really explained why our companions mean so much to us. Maybe it's time we did." After some discussion, The humans decided to propose the idea to Irinder. To their relief, he agreed, seeing it as a last effort to bridge the gap between the two groups. The meeting was scheduled for later that week, giving everyone time to prepare. When the day arrived, the room was tense. The humans sat on one side, their companions close by, while the Pyrans occupied the other. Irinder stood at the front, his glowing skin steady but faintly flickering, a sign of his nervousness. "Thank you all for coming," he began. "This is a chance for understanding. Let's start with the humans. Tell us about your lives, and why your companions are so important." Jason went first, standing up and placing a hand on Graknar's armored back. "Where I come from, survival isn't easy. Every day is a fight. Against hunger, predators, even the weather. Grax here has saved my life more times than I can count. He's not just a pet. He's my partner. Without him, I wouldn't be here today." Graknar clicked his mandibles softly, as if agreeing with Jason's words. Some of the Pyrans watched cautiously, their expressions softening slightly. Emily spoke next, holding Lumina gently in her hands. "My home is full of dark places, caves, tunnels, forests where the sun never reaches. Lumina helps me see when there's no light. She's guided me through dangers I couldn't face alone. To me, she's not just useful, she's family." Lumina pulsed faintly, casting a warm glow around Emily. One of the Pyran students tilted their head, curiosity replacing fear. Alex took her turn, keeping a firm grip on Fanger's leash. "I know Fanger looks scary, but he's loyal to the core. On my colony, threats come fast and hard. You don't survive without someone, or something, you can trust completely. Fanger's been that for me since I was little. He's not a monster. He's my protector." Fanger growled softly, lowering his head, as if sensing the weight of Alex's words. The Pyrans shifted uncomfortably, but no one fled the room. Finally, Rachel stood, cradling Zix in her arms. "Zix might seem strange to you, but he's incredibly smart. He learns quickly and adapts to anything. Back home, having someone like him makes all the difference. He's not just a companion, he's part of my team." As Rachel finished, Rinder nodded thoughtfully. "Now," he said, turning to the Pyrans, "it's your turn. Share your perspective. Help them understand why their companions make you uneasy." A young Pyran named Lirin stepped forward. Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke. "Our world is peaceful. We value calmness and safety above all else. Seeing creatures like yours, it reminds us of things we've worked so hard to leave behind. Fear, violence, chaos. That's why we struggle to accept them." The humans listened quietly, realizing for the first time how much their presence disrupted the Pyrans' sense of security. For the first time, both sides began to see each other, not as enemies, but as beings shaped by vastly different worlds. By the end of the meeting, there was still tension, but also a glimmer of hope. The humans promised to train their companions harder, teaching them boundaries and restraint. In return, the Pyrans vowed to be more patient, to try understanding rather than fearing. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a start. Slowly, the two groups began taking small steps toward trust. And though challenges lay ahead, they all knew that understanding was the first step toward unity. To test whether the humans could truly keep their companions under control, the Academy proposed a trial period. For 2 weeks, the companions would be allowed to stay on campus, but only if they followed strict rules. They had to remain leashed or contained at all times, avoid making loud noises, and stay away from restricted areas. If any of these rules were broken, the humans risked expulsion. At first, it was difficult. Graknar's size made him clumsy indoors, and more than once, he accidentally knocked over chairs or tables while trying to move through narrow hallways. Jason spent hours training him to walk carefully, using treats and gentle commands to guide his movements. "You've got to slow down, big guy," Jason muttered one afternoon as Graknar stepped gingerly around a group of Pyrran students. The effort paid off when Arinder noticed the improvement, and gave Jason a rare nod of approval. Luminous flashes of light continued to cause problems, especially during lectures. Emily worked tirelessly to teach her companion restraint, practicing in dimly lit rooms until Lumina learned to glow softly instead of bursting into blinding brightness. One day, during a science demonstration, Lumina emitted a soft, steady light that illuminated the professor's work without startling anyone. Several Pyran students smiled faintly, impressed by the change. Fangor remained the biggest challenge. His instincts were hard to suppress, and his growls often startled those nearby. Alex took him outside every morning for long training sessions, teaching him basic commands like quiet and stay. She even introduced him to some of the calmer Pyran students, letting them approach him slowly under her watchful eye. Though Fangor still intimidated many, his behavior improved enough for people to feel less threatened. Zix, being small and adaptable, adjusted quickly to the new rules. Rachel kept him close, explaining his mood changes to curious parents who dared to ask. Over time, Zix became something of a mascot for the humans, his color shifts drawing smiles instead of fear. Despite the progress, there were moments of tension. One evening, a Pyran student tripped over Graknar's tail in the dining hall, causing a minor commotion. Another time, Lumina's glow flared unexpectedly during an exam, distracting several students. Each incident reignited doubts among the Pyrans, but the humans handled them calmly, apologizing and working harder to prevent future mistakes. Slowly, however, attitudes began to shift. The Pyrans started noticing the effort the humans were putting into controlling their companions. When Jason stayed up late practicing with Graknar, a few Pyrans offered tips on navigating tight spaces. When Emily struggled to calm Lumina during a particularly stressful day, Lyran, the same Pyran who had spoken at the meeting, gently suggested techniques she'd seen work with bioluminescent plants. Even Fangor earned reluctant respect after an unexpected moment. During a break between classes, a small Pyran child wandered too close to a fountain and slipped, falling into the shallow water. Before anyone could react, Fangor sprang forward, scooping the child out with surprising gentleness. Alex held her breath, waiting for panic to erupt. But instead, the child's parents thanked her quietly, their glowing skin flickering with gratitude. By the end of the trial period, the atmosphere had changed significantly. While not everyone was completely comfortable around the companions, most Pyrans acknowledged the humans' dedication. Erindor called another meeting to discuss the results. "I must admit," he said, his voice warm with approval, "you've made remarkable progress. Your companions are learning to adapt, and so are you." Jason grinned, scratching Graknar's side. "We told you we could do it." Emily nodded, smiling as Lumina floated peacefully above her shoulder. "It wasn't easy, but we knew it was worth it." Alex crossed her arms, smirking slightly. "Guess Fangor proved he's not such a monster after all." Rachel hugged Zix close, feeling a wave of relief. "This is just the beginning. We can keep improving, for everyone." Erindor's glowing skin brightened faintly, a sign of his satisfaction. "Then let us move forward together. There will still be challenges, but I believe we can overcome them, as long as we continue to understand each other." For the first time since arriving, the humans felt a sense of belonging. Their companions, once seen as threats, were now viewed as part of the solution, a bridge between two very different worlds. The final test of the humans' ability to coexist with the Pyrans came during a field trip to a nearby forest preserve. The excursion was meant to give students hands-on experience studying Sci-Fi 7's unique ecosystem, but it quickly turned into something far more challenging. As the group ventured deeper into the crystalline woods, the air grew thick with an eerie silence. The trees shimmered faintly, their translucent leaves casting colorful shadows on the ground. Despite the beauty, there was an underlying tension. Something felt off. Jason noticed it first, his sharp eyes catching movement in the underbrush. "Stay alert," he whispered, instinctively reaching for Graknar's leash. Moments later, The source of the disturbance revealed itself. A pack of native predators emerged from the shadows, their sleek, wolf-like forms glinting with metallic fur. Their glowing red eyes locked onto the group, and low growls rumbled through the air. Panic spread among the Pyran students, who had never encountered anything so dangerous before. "Everyone, stay calm," Erinder called out, though his voice wavered slightly. He tried to guide the group back toward the shuttle, but the predators blocked their path, circling closer with every passing second. It was Alex who acted first. "Fanger, guard," she shouted, releasing her companion from his leash. Fanger sprang forward with a deafening roar, positioning himself between the predators and the group. His massive frame and jagged teeth sent several of the creatures retreating into the bushes, but others remained, snarling defiantly. Jason stepped up next, urging Graknar into action. "Grax, shield us." Graknar clicked his mandibles loudly, spreading his armored body wide to create a protective barrier. The metallic wolves hesitated, unsure how to approach the towering insectoid creature. Emily focused on Lumina, commanding her to emit bursts of light. "Blind them," she said firmly. Lumina responded immediately, pulsing with bright flashes that disoriented the predators. They stumbled backward, their glowing eyes temporarily overwhelmed by the sudden brightness. Rachel held Zix close, whispering instructions. "Zix, find a way out." The small blob shifted colors rapidly, scanning the area before pointing toward a narrow gap in the trees. "This way," Rachel called out, guiding the group toward safety. With the humans and their companions working together, the Pyrans managed to escape the forest unharmed. When they reached the shuttle, the relief was palpable. Several Pyran students collapsed onto the seats, their glowing skin flickering wildly as they processed what had just happened. Erinder approached the humans, his expression a mix of gratitude and awe. "You saved us," he said simply. "Without your companions, I don't know what would have happened." Jason shrugged, patting Graknar's side. "That's what they're here for, to protect." Alex smirked, scratching Fanger's neck. "Told you he wasn't a monster." Emily smiled softly, watching Lumina float lazily above her shoulder. "We couldn't have done it without them." Rachel nodded, cradling Zix in her arms. "They're part of our team. And now, maybe they can be part of yours too." For the first time, the Pyrans truly understood. These companions weren't just tools or weapons. They were partners, extensions of the humans themselves. And in that moment of crisis, they had proven their worth. By the end of the semester, the relationship between the humans and the Pyrans had transformed. While challenges still existed, the fear and distrust had faded, replaced by mutual respect. The humans continued to train their companions, ensuring they posed no threat to the Academy. In return, the Pyrans embraced the lessons they'd learned about survival and loyalty. As the starship prepared to carry the humans back to their colonies, Erinder addressed the group one last time. "You've taught us much about strength and resilience," he said warmly. "And perhaps we've taught you a little about peace. May our paths cross again, and may we continue to learn from one another." The humans boarded the ship, their companions by their sides. As the vessel lifted off, they looked down at Sci-Fi 7, knowing they had left behind something important, a bond forged through understanding and unity. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. And sometimes, that was enough.